Go.
Do it.
Let's
Maggie,
do this.
Good to see you.
It is so great to see you too, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, and we're back in the gun store.
Oh my gosh.
We haven't been here in a while. We've been on the range, but this is great.
Right.
I love this space right here. And hey, I got a quick question for you. Something that I don't think we've talked about because it's new. But being at a gun store, and you're the one here that deals with the ATF, if I understand that right. So if the ATF come,
I'm usually
You're the
first
person.
point of contact. I
figured
mean,
as much. Lucky girl.
I don't know. They're really cool people. So
Yeah, well, that's good, and you have shared that with me. But there's a lot of things going around now all over social media and the media in general about the ATF looking for certain triggers, looking for certain gun parts and gun-related things that they have deemed recently are illegal. And a lot of reports saying that they're getting, they're going to the gun stores, which, so they go to the manufacturer. Manufacturer says, hey, we sent it to this gun store. So then they go to the gun store. Okay, now where did you get it? And then there's also a lot of video of them, knocking on people's door, demanding these things. Essentially kind of some pseudo threats, kind of things like, if you turn them over, otherwise you'll be seeing us again, you'll be in worse trouble, just those kind of things. And so being at a gun store, I just wondered, and dealing with the ATF, you're the only person I know that is both those things. So I thought it would be wise to ask you, what's up with that?
Okay, so obviously the manufacturers know how many pieces or parts they make of something and can crank out within a certain period of time. And once something has been deemed a problem in whatever industry it is, I always end up using the automotive industry because there's so many parts and pieces that can go wrong. Just tiny little parts that are inserted into a vehicle that cause some sort of catastrophic failure or unintentional accidents, which can lead to larger problems and lawsuits down the road. But the manufacturers are going to know who they sold those parts to, how many of those parts are out floating around, and then it's up to agents to go around and go, time to clean up the mess. Somebody's got to take the parts that don't work or cause something to function differently than intended, not as intended by the manufacturer.
Make it not function the way they decide they don't want it.
Fair enough.
Either way, whatever the case may be.
However you phrase it.
Right.
So somebody's got to go around and clean up the mess. And there are still some vendors who have seen the laws that have been passed and gone, that doesn't apply to me. Well, what's the point of making a rule if somebody's going to break it? Then you're breaking the rules and then you're doing something illegal. So they've got to go around, pick those things up, and if you were one of the dealers that sold all of that stuff and they happen to have some on the shelf, what'll happen is they'll come in and go, oh, hey, I see you guys got some of these in. Yeah, we only got however many, and really couldn't tell you. Some people will keep records of who they sold them to. Other stores probably didn't. It was not a serialized numbered part. It's not something that anyone had to pass a background check for to own. So there truly may be no record of who it sold it to.
It kind of was my big question too, was how would they really know unless it was put in a gun?
Unless it was put in the gun and the gun was sold with that part in it, and then the new owner gets a hold of it and is like, yeah, well, the dealer that sold it to you is kind of going to get in trouble for that. And you're probably going to get a call from an agent who might say, hey, we know that this gun store happened to have one of these and it had this part in it already. the part has been deemed illegal. Can we take that back? They give you a receipt. Like they will give you paperwork. They will give you a case number.
You were saying you spoke with an ATF agent.
I have, yeah.
Okay, what did they share with you?
So he mentioned that, he's like, if you run across any of these, please let me know. I'm like, I haven't, truly, honestly, I have not seen one. We didn't sell any in the shop. You could order them online. You could send them to your house. So we just kind of stayed out of that because it was a drop-in aftermarket part. Now, if a gunsmith or somebody installs the part, well, it's, we still don't keep record of exactly which gun it was that got that, which serial number it was that got that trigger put in. Sorry, I don't have that information for you, but if I ever see one eventually come through here, my first thing to say would be to tell the customer, hey, we can't install that for you here. That's not a can of worms that we really want to open. It could cost us our license. And obviously the boss man doesn't want to do that. Obviously if he loses his license, we lose our jobs. I like my job. I really do. You guys are really cool, all of you. So I really don't want to screw up, but yeah, that could happen. And if they happen to show up and say, hey, can we get that part, or can we get the full completed firearm with that part installed, is usually there's a possibility that your gun could be forfeited if the part is installed in it when they come to pick it up. If the part's not in the gun when they come to pick it up and you're just like, oh, never installed it, it's in the package, or threw it away, it's buried or lost in the mountainous pile of stuff and things.
Boating accident.
I launched it into space on the last rocket with the last shipment of satellites or whatever.
$1 million.
Yes. Bye.
Send this to space.
You're welcome to chase down after it if you want, but good luck.
Something you shared before we started filming was this raid of this gun store here in Missouri, and you got a little insight in it. So what does that look like when your gun store gets raided? What happens?
I can't tell you from firsthand experience.
I'm glad.
I am so glad that I have not had that experience too. But I know that usually if a store is raided, there is a darn good reason behind that. And it's probably the reason that the people who work for your gun store were not the upstanding, law-abiding citizens that they should have been, and have done something very, very, very wrong in some reason. So what's going to happen is that, they're going to come in and they're going to take any of the property that was used in illegal transactions or things that the gun store should not have had possession of in the first place, should not have owned. If there is something in the gun store that is illegal, you either have to give that thing up right there and then, or you have to provide every single little bit of paperwork and documentation that says, yep, that's mine. Lawfully and legally, that is entirely property of our store, and we are entitled to have that, and no, you cannot take it. So if you do have all of the correct paperwork, you can own the fun toys. If you don't have the correct paperwork, they're gonna come and they're gonna check your employees, they're gonna look into the owner, they're gonna look all over the gun store, and they're gonna look all over the owner's house and property and stuff like that probably too, to see if there's probable cause for anything else. Because, I mean, if you're doing illegal stuff,
what did the raid look like?
I I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay, well, but I mean, as far as, have you heard any insight as to kind of what the guy went through? I mean, his store, I assume, isn't open anymore.
You know,
And do they just take...
that's a good question.
Do they just take the illegal pieces? Do they confiscate everything in the
They're going to
store?
confiscate everything that is illegal. Everything that is not marked in the books. If he has stuff that hasn't been checked into his inventory yet, and they do give you a grace period to get your stuff checked in, but you know, if he's left stuff sitting there a week and hasn't gotten any of his paperwork on it done, yeah, they're going to take that and be like, you had time, you just didn't do it in a timely fashion. They're going to take anything that's illegal. If they close the store and revoke the owner's license, the owner has 30 days to liquidate the assets. So huge sale, and this is where you get online companies that buy businesses, that buy small gun stores that need to liquidate quickly. So the gun, they know you're going to be selling at a loss because obviously you've lost your license. Not all businesses go out of business for illegal reasons. Some of them go out just because they're like, I'm done, I want to do something else. I don't want to be in the firearms industry anymore, or I'm old enough that I can retire, or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of good reasons that a gun store will close too, but the bad reasons usually are tied to somebody at that shop doing something not legal. And if it was the owner of the shop, they're going to lose their license. If someone else purchases their inventory and gets their own federal firearms license, they can reopen the shop in the same place, maybe not under the same, it won't be under the same license.
Hey, what we were originally going to talk about was a question I had for you, and I know I mentioned this a little bit earlier, and this is a new thing, is that the White House has said there's now this zero tolerance of gun store mistakes, that if you make a certain mistake, and they kind of have a short list of mistakes that you can make, that you can't make, that you make one, you're shut down. Like, you're immediately shut down. You have to surrender everything, shut down. And those mistakes are, as I understand it, I don't have them in front of me, but the general idea is selling guns to people who don't qualify for that. Like, maybe they don't pass background check, or you knew they were lying about something, or they, whatever the case may be, that they didn't qualify for that gun. If you sell them that gun, or if you knowingly sell illegal components, knowing, you know, that kind of thing, that's another thing. So I was just curious if what kind of you've heard or anything, or just any insight you might have on that at all.
So
it's kind of a big question.
My first question was, how bad do these mistakes have to be for a zero? Like, no, you're gone. Like, you forgot to cross the T on Kansas City, and you're out. No, it can't be that easy. No. So it's got to be, you know, obviously selling guns to someone who can't pass their background check, or selling parts that illegal parts for guns. And I do know that there are gun stores that have gotten closed down for that. To my knowledge, in the 80% of the decade that I have been employed in the firearms industry, that's always been the rule. Like, hey, you don't sell to people who can't pass a background check. When you yourself have a license, you have to follow all the rules, and that's always been one of the rules too. And you're like, hey, don't go selling illegal machine guns or illegal parts to make these guns full. That's always been a thing.
Well, I think apparently it's, I mean, have you ever heard of anybody like getting warned about that and then they're shut, like, or is it just?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess maybe that is lies the difference.
So that has happened before. Not here at this store, but I
Well,
do
you run
know.
the books here. Of course it does. You run a tight ship here. I do know that.
I would like to
Sorry, I
hope
didn't mean to
so.
get you off track,
I would
but
really like to
I'm
hope
sure
so.
they just love you. The idea.
Some of them. I'm sorry, Agent Beans, for the time I hit you with my A&D book, but you probably kind of sort of deserved it. And I'm glad we're still friends. I'll see you the next time you swing by for an audit.
I don't even remember what you're saying. I'm so sorry.
So no, the firearms businesses, the licensed dealers that are selling illegal parts or illegal firearms or selling to people who are not allowed to own firearms or who just can't pass their background check, that's a thing. And they catch those on audits and things and go, wait a minute. It says here that this person was denied the purchase of a firearm on the 12th. 2 days later, on the 14th, they came in to pick up their gun. You saw that it was denied and you went, bye, have fun, take it home, just sign and date, there it goes. And they go, why'd you do that? That's, you really screwed up. The FBI, when they gave you the results of that background check, said, no, don't give this person a gun. And you were just like, yeah, have fun, bye. No, you don't do that. And so that's usually when they get caught, is in these audits where it shows up on the paperwork that, yeah, you messed up. Mm-hmm. So you know better than to do that. Obviously, you hope that it's made by an employee that was their first day, their first transaction, and they weren't even paying attention. That employee probably isn't going to be able to keep their job for very long, especially if the owner of the license wants to continue holding their license. Now, if it's the owner of the license that's doing that,
that's interesting.
Then that owner, all of that's going to come back on him or her. If the ATF comes in and sees that you keep doing the same dumb mistakes, yeah, you're going to get closed right quick. So I do understand a zero tolerance for people who aren't.
Clearly you did this on purpose. Like
yes.
The owner of the store, the man or woman holding the license.
The man or woman holding the license.
Chose to make.
This is a conscious decision.
It wasn't a mistake.
You get those results, you read those results, and provided you can read, it says, yes, this person may proceed with a firearm out the door by, or no, this is denied in nice big letters, denied. They don't give us a reason, they give us a transaction number, they don't tell us anything. It's not our business to know why you were denied. But all we get is this transaction number, this transaction was denied. That's where we stop.
Yeah, I see. So now if I understand it right, which I don't know if I ever understand things that come from the ATF or the White House, but if I understand it right, it's now like if for example, if you guys had a new employee and he did that by mistake day one, that now that is a zero tolerance. That now you actually, your employees will be accountable for your FFL as well. In regards to that short list is kind of what that sounds like.
That is ridiculous. Now, I would understand.
You should ask that agent. Ask him, like, just kind of give that hypothetical. Because if zero tolerance, like, well, what is the difference now? Like, if.
I do know that there are employees who were let go from their employment at a firearms store for making too many mistakes. Somebody that's watching the paperwork or doing whatever sees either your initials on there somewhere, or there's usually an indicator that can tell you which employee ran which background check, or which employee is doing what transaction. For a small store that only has 1 or 2 employees, okay, it was either him or it was me, and you do have to be accountable. And luckily our boss has always drilled that into our heads here. It's like, hey, your name's on this, be proud of what you do. And if you can't be proud of what you're doing, don't do it. I mean, just if it's not something that is honest, true, and right, don't do it.
Yeah. Well, gosh, Maggie, thank you so much. Maybe you could, if you don't mind, when you get audited again, if you could ask.
I would love to. Yeah, I always wind up with a giant list of questions.
What happens if?
I have a.
Wait till the audit's over, though, because then they'll be like, "Well, why are you asking?"
No, because I'm like, I want to know. I usually. First day in, I'm like, all right, here's my 12 pages of questions.
Yeah.
When do you want to start going over these? Where do you want to start?
That's awesome. Yeah, do include that. I'd be very curious what zero tolerance really means.
Yeah, I am very curious
it's
too.
A very gray line. Zero sounds like a very definitive line, so I'd be very curious. Very curious.
I really would think that would apply to the dealers that are willingly making these mistakes. Or in one case, a few years back, there was a dealer in Missouri that had purchased a collection and then just turned around and out in the parking lot, just under the table, I bought all these on my license, and now I'm, sure, you, $300 for that one? Yeah, sure, all right. Yeah, no paperwork, just take it. And then somebody else sees that.
Not a very good business model.
Somebody else sees that and goes, hey, wait a minute, that's not right. Or, sometimes if they know you've had mistakes like that in the past, if they know that you have an employee that is letting guns go out the door no matter what the response from the FBI's background check says, then they'll send usually someone from local police there to check, and sometimes local can even send someone undercover to check, and then they're like, yeah.
Well, my guess is the lead investigating agent probably has discretion on who he recommends for a zero tolerance as well. My guess is whoever he says, they agree.
Probably.
But
there
would have to be some discretion.
You have to have proof to back it up too.
We've actually been talking about the ATF here in the store because we share a few auditors and a few individuals that we know that work for the ATF, and we don't hate them. They're cool people. They're really cool people. So we sit here and we have conversations about the audits that we've been through in the past, and the things that we have done to make the audits go smoother, and the things that the agents themselves have done to make the audits go smoother for us as well. They are there truthfully to help us on this side of the counter. And
I think it's more the bureaucracy as a whole that people are, because I get that, that they're individuals that have a job for an organization that a lot of people don't particularly like the organization.
True.
That's kind of what
story.
Yeah. So keep the individual and the organization as a separate entity.
But the human beings that work for the organization, not every single one of them is trash like you would think.
Well,
a lot of them are quality.
Any police, really, if you just look at the policing efforts of the ATF, if you look at any police, any city, anywhere USA, you're going to have great cops, people that are dedicated to serving that community wholeheartedly, and then you're going to have people that are there because of power. They want to influence, they want to walk around and with their authority pressed on everybody. I think that's anywhere, and I'm
Yeah.
sure the ATF's the same.
And
I'm sure the FBI is the same thing, and I'm sure
that's no
the
matter
Missouri Department of Conservation is the same thing, and all
no
that.
matter where you go in life, and to some degree, as much as I hate to say it, but you find that in churches too.
Oh yes, well, I would say.
So there are some places where it is organized like that, and there are some
like,
people
is this
that
really a church?
uh-huh.
The way you behave seems pretty. I don't know.
Yeah, just a little suspect.
Little
Tiny.
suspect.
Just
yeah.
a little sus.
Yeah.
So, to the effect of the ATF, some calls are great, other calls are not. God bless the sweet, sweet, sweet ladies and gentlemen that work their butts off in the call center, trying to make sure everything is correct, and to help us on this side of the counter. To that effect, we also get to help trace firearms that have gone missing from an individual's collection. So those calls come back to the store where the firearm was purchased from, and they go, hey, can you send us the information on who purchased this serial number? And sometimes it's really easy to find, especially if the records are all kept digitally, and then it's just as simple as going, oh yeah, I do know. I sold that bad stinking Desert Eagle to Mark over here.
I wish.
Back on April 12th.
I wish this was a true story.
Yeah, I know, right? Right now we are telling stories.
I was just looking at a Desert Eagle a second ago, but go ahead.
This is all fiction, but they're like, yes, I do know that this firearm belongs to this individual, and on this date, he took possession of it lawfully and legally. And they go, awesome! Well, that matches our records. Here is the police report where it was reported missing. So he's in the clear, and the firearm returns back to its original owner. The part that sucks, when those calls come in at the very last minute when you are about to walk out the door and the whole shop is already packed up and you're setting the alarm, and then that phone rings and you're like, ATF, okay, we got this. We're on it.
Is that normal? Do they normally, like, it probably just comes at random times, or is
It really is just depending on how far the case has progressed for whichever serial number is missing. Some of them take a lot longer to trace to their original owners than others. I really could not tell you why. I have ideas, I have theories, but I don't have an honest answer from anyone.
So, can you not, like, because if you're getting ready to leave and you see the ATF is calling,
They got to be done as soon as possible.
Okay.
And not just for us getting the paperwork finished in a very timely and quick fashion, but this is gonna help you or help someone on the other side of the counter get their property back sooner. So why on earth? I wouldn't want to be delayed myself. I would want somebody like, hey, you still got 3 minutes left on that clock, so would you mind doing a 2 minutes worth of work before you gotta leave, please? So yeah, just...
Well, you know what? That's very thoughtful of you. I gotta be real honest. I might not take that call if it was 3 minutes before I was leaving, but that is really thoughtful of you. That's
Think
great.
about it.
I get it. Now that you mention it, I'm like, that's true. If it was my missing firearm, I'd want it to get it back as quickly as possible. And that's the point of the trace, is they found the gun somewhere and they're
like,
trying to return it to its lawful owner.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we have this serial number. We need to know who this is property of, who this belongs to. Help.
Well, I commend you for getting that done quick. That's good.
Trying to.
Yeah, that's good. Especially when they call 3 minutes to the end of the day. Multiple traces needed. That's good of you. That's good of you.
That exact one was about 14 minutes before close, so we did have some.
Okay,
we had a little more time,
leeway,
so
okay.
that's pretty easy. But at the same time, when you're trying to pack everything up and move everything and lock everything down, yeah, it's just little more of a just one extra step to
Yeah,
do.
probably mixed in with some late walking in people and that kind of thing.
That
too. So,
happens
yeah,
too
yeah.
sometimes. Hey, that's all right. We help them out as well.
Well, Maggie, good job. I'm glad to hear that there's people like
thanks.
you out there helping them get their guns back. That's good.
We were talking about, because you were sharing that there's a big concern about people that are coming on this side of the counter losing their guns. They're afraid they're going to lose their guns. They're worried about losing their guns. What is it that, and I probably have this couple questions in this one. What is it that is known, like what does the government know about the guns I own, and how would they know?
Okay, the only way they're going to know about what guns you own is to go back through every single gun store's records and check for your name, when it pops up, and how many guns did we sell you. Pull every single one of those white sheets. Do you know how much time and effort that takes? You guys probably have no
Let alone
idea.
Every citizen in the United
Yeah, okay, this is way too much paperwork for anybody to undertake, and I cannot imagine anybody willing to do this. There are archives, massive archives, of every single firearms store that has gone out of business, and there's the out of business records center.
It's like the last scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of thing.
Like probably 20 bazillion times worse. I can't imagine that the organization, nothing is digital, and not everything is at all is digitized in this. This is manually checking paper forms, going through all the bad handwriting and the good handwriting that's on there, and trying to figure out each individual serial number, what was it, and who was the last person. Too much time and effort. Waste of time and effort. So the only way they're going to know what guns you have is when you report them stolen or missing, and you do your police report, and you're like, yep, that serial number, ATB004, yep, that one's mine. I want that one back when you find it. Reporting it missing on this date, hasn't been in my possession since then. Somewhere, maybe decades down the line, you may get a knock on your door and go, hey, we found this, belongs to you. You want it back? Yeah, heck yeah, I do. Or maybe not so much. I replaced it with something better, you know. So I don't know, but
Because there's one that, like when we talked about this last time, some of the comments that came up were, well, if they go into the store and they seize the records or something like that.
oh, seize the records, please take all this paperwork, please.
Now, is there, because, I mean, how many guns, since you've been here, because you've been here, it's been about 10 years, hasn't it? Or,
Okay, the store has been here, this shop opened in 2010, and the boss man has been in the firearms industry and the scene. He's one of those firearms scene kids, guys, way longer. And me, I am very, very, very new to this. 2021 will be my 7th year. This August, 2021, will be my 7th year in the firearms community.
how many guns do you think this store has sold in the 7 years you've been here?
As of, well, I just renewed our license, so we have to do a total of the number of guns that have passed through our doors within the X number of years of our business license. So I think
It's a convenient question to ask.
it is. It really is. So we're tiny. We're itty bitty. Just keep this in mind. Itty bitty, like 2 people full time on payroll. Itty bitty. We did over 5,000 firearms just at our. Pardon me. We ran 5,000 background checks, over 5,000 background checks during that time. Now, the background checks that we run for you guys, I do not have to tell them how many guns you are getting. I don't tell them that, in fact. I don't have to tell them what serial numbers you're getting. All I have to do is say, are you picking up a long or are you picking up a handgun, or are you picking up something that doesn't fit into one of those categories, which would be like
Like a shockwave.
other, pistol grip firearms, any other weapons, silencers, machine guns, stuff like that. That stuff, I don't even have to, I just pick other. They're just like, oh, it's something that's not exactly a handgun and not exactly a long gun with a shoulder stock on it.
Because I think what people's worry is I think they believe that next year there's going to be this massive effort to seize all, I even hate this term, but we're going to call them military-style weapons. How would they, is there really a possibility for them to know?
Good freaking luck. I mean, what happens if you're in a terrible boating accident and all of your guns just go overboard? I mean, and you're just like, nope, sorry, I don't know what I would tell them if they came to...
Would they know if it was a, let's say if it was an AR-15 versus a lever action gun? If it's a long gun, or is there a way, like, I guess the question I'm trying to hopefully answer for people, because I hate to see the panic in people like that, because it seems so unnecessary.
No one's getting a hold of my records. I'm sorry, they can pry them from our cold dead hands. You have to have done something so egregiously bad, really bad. And even then, we're not the first person that they're coming to. They're going to go to all your friends. They're going to go to your Facebook stuff first. They are, you have already, if you're that far in trouble, you've already incriminated yourself. Like, there's nothing on my end of it. This is just they'll come in and pick up the paperwork. Oh yeah, he wasn't here. One of those guns was in his collection. That's it. That's what, I don't give out any of that information unless they come with massive amounts of paperwork and everything. Good luck.
Well, and the other piece of this is just to imagine the undertaking that it would the undertaking that it would take to find out the sheer volume of long guns out there and who owns them and how many. To put that credibility in the government to be able to pull something like that off.
No offense.
Quite entertaining as well, because generally the government is not good at stuff like that at all.
Hey, they're great at spending money.
They are good at spending money.
They are fantastic at spending money. I pay a lot of money for taxes, and man, be nice to see as much money. I'd love to waste as much money as the government does. That'd be cool.
So it really just, it really seems, and I know people are going to say, well, what about this? What about, there's going to be other things, but I couldn't even imagine how many people in this country own, let's just say, a magazine-fed semi-automatic rifle. I think is a better description, because that's really what it is.
That is exactly what it is.
If it was a military-style weapon, it'd be fully auto, or at least be 3-round burst. So you're talking about a magazine-fed semi-automatic rifle with a pistol grip is ultimately what they're talking about. Oh.
Whoa.
And how many of those could there possibly be out there? There'd just be no way that the government could possibly know who has what. Can you see any possible way? Unless they're looking for a specific person, but then that's on that person.
Yeah, that is totally on that person. Yeah, trust me, they don't care. They really, we've sold too many guns for them to keep track of at this point. They don't care until you do something wrong, like royally screw up. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. But until you royally screw up, they don't care.
Yeah.
So
really, in the end, if there's really just no way for them to know what guns you have.
I'm not telling.
And there's definitely not a registry.
No, so. There is. Okay, so there isn't a registry for us here in the state of Missouri. Some states actually do keep. It is a matter of state record, because I'm sure we're going to get flamed in the comments for this.
All right, so. As I watch comments on people worrying about it, I'm not worried about it at all, to be quite honest.
I'm not worried.
But a lot of people are really concerned about it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about it?
Like, I have zero concerns at the moment. I don't know. This is definitely one of those questions that I will put to my federal agents. We're up for an audit at some point this year or next year. Some of our lovely federal agents will come and answer a bunch of questions. I save up a lot of questions to ask them, and this is going to be one of those that I can put to them, and then we can definitely revisit this later, and you guys can go, well, Maggie's feds said this, and let me tell you, Maggie's feds are, don't you dare flame my feds. I'm the only one that gets to say anything bad about them because I know them, so you can't say anything about them until you know them personally, and I'm going to hold the rest of you the same thing. Nobody else can say anything bad about you until they know you personally.
Well, hey, we're here at Gunner's Firearms again with Maggie. Maggie, how are you doing today?
Doing wonderful, thanks.
Very good, very good. Beautiful day. I know it's early before the store opens, and we're both kind of like rubbing the sleep out of our eyes. It's been that kind of a morning.
Undercaffeinated for me, for sure.
For me as well. I didn't bring my coffee, and I have to run out to the truck after this and get my coffee. Thanks for reminding me. Hey, we were talking just a second ago about the credit cards issue, and I had asked that, did you see a change in the codes, and you'd mentioned...
I am not in charge of our merchant service accounts, so I don't have any of that information to share. Yeah. However, I can tell you that in this age where information is very prevalent and freely given most of the time by our own little personal devices of some sort, that I have gotten... I have been contacted by police departments asking, hey, is this person still at your location? And to me, that strikes me as strange.
As a customer?
Yes.
Wow.
So I've had law enforcement agencies contact me and say, hey, is this person still at your store? And I'm like, that's kind of an odd question. Why would you want to know? Well, it seems that family members know your location of your phone, and when someone sees that it's pinging in a certain location and you're right there next to a gun store, they're like, oh no, this person is intent on doing something, or they're intent on making poor choices. There was a wellness check that was made on someone just to see if they were still here at the store because someone called in on someone else and said, I don't know. Here's the horrible part. Is the person that called in for a wellness check, was that intentional, like, hey, this person really does have problems? Or is it just, this person pissed me off and I want to make their day as horrible as I possibly can? This person has no business having any knowledge about anything that could harm me or harm them or whatever. Even if it's good knowledge, they still can't have the knowledge.
Well, let me ask you this. So, because there aren't red flag laws in Missouri.
No.
And as far as I know, there aren't in this county.
Not.
So, I couldn't imagine the Attorney General would let there be. But, so, I understand the wellness check, because cops are always...
Yes.
They can always do that. They can always do that.
I hear it all the time. They will call in and say, hey, the front door will be open. I will not be here. And they roll up just in time to hear a gunshot go off or something like that.
Sure.
So I have heard law enforcement officers answer those calls, and those are not fun calls to make. So anytime they don't have to make that call, or they can get there before it happens and diffuse the situation, that is always a better option and a better outcome. So I understand from that perspective, they do have to check because this does happen. But also, on the other hand, they say, yeah, there's a lot of times where it's entirely false and the person is well and good on their own, and they have someone in their family or in their past or in their circle of friends that is trying to just really cause them more trouble than they're worth. But
so, but the police can't they couldn't take the fellow's gun. Okay. I guess I was kind of wondering, well, what was the outcome of that? In the end, you're like,
the outcome of that is that...
I mean, if it was me, not as the salesperson, because I would be concerned for that person, but as the person, be like, there's nothing you could do about it.
Exactly. And that's one of those things. It's like, we're supposed to judge you on, like, from our side of the counter, we are supposed to judge you and by what you say, how you walk in here, how you act, and the questions you're asking us. And yeah, sometimes there are people that come up and we're just like, not today, maybe, or maybe try someplace else, but we're not the shop for you. And then there's others that, like that person in question that I dealt with, they asked a lot of the right questions. Where can I get training? I need a safe place to practice. What do you have local that I can get involved in this? I'm interested. I mean, there's somebody that wasn't thinking it through on, I think it was an erroneous call.
Sure.
And that person was seen later alive and well and walking around and having a grand time, witnessed by other folks too. And so it's not, I don't think that was, yes. I can't speak to what individuals are going to do on their own time. I can only speak of what I know briefly.
How often does that happen, the little safety checks or the wellness checks that you get a call? Like, how is that fairly normal?
It depends.
Or is it
I
unusual?
think it depends on the area. It depends on the person themselves, and I truly can't tell you what those odds look like. I mean, I can only speak to the fact that it's only happened to me, like, in memory twice.
Okay.
That I can think of.
That's good.
But I'm not the only one that works at this gun store. I'm not the only one that works at a gun store, and I am not the only gun store in the United States. So this could be on a larger scale in different areas. It could be something that might be.
Sure. And we're not even in a big city. You know, we're kind of in the suburbs here.
Yeah.
So
We're definitely in the
suburbs
burbs.
Country, yeah. More suburbs lately, but country about 5-10 years ago.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Gosh, thank you so much for sharing this. Fascinating stuff, but I don't know. I'd be curious how many times that does happen where somebody just calls like, oh, he shouldn't be at that gun store. I'm calling the police. You know?
They shouldn't be in that area. And I will say that the other time that happened, we were like, no one fitting that description has ever been in here. Could they have possibly been at one of the other businesses in the area? And they were like, oh, well, they did say they were going to look at bicycles today. Oh, well, guess what? There is a bike shop right across the street. Why don't you ask them if if they've seen that person?
Anything suspicious in here?
Yes.
Dangerous bicycles.
Yes. Go check at that store first and then come back and let me know. And in fact, yes, that person was going to buy a bicycle that day. And not a firearm, but so.
Oh, well, interesting stuff. Gosh, thanks for sharing this. The day you get a call from a cop about a credit card purchase, let me know.
It would be a
If
fraudulent.
it ever happens, yeah.
It would be a fraudulent.
More fraudulent things.
I've had fraudulent charge happen before,
Sure,
and my cousin has too, and those suck, and those aren't fun. Palmetto State Armory had a rash of those a while ago, several years back, people using stolen credit cards to purchase firearms, and then having them shipped and picked up under someone else's name. That's a straw purchase.
Yeah.
So that is a huge thing when
That's a big one.
a name on a credit card does not match the person doing the background check. That's an automatic no. So that would be the only red flag that would stop a purchase here at the counter. It's like, oh, it says this was paid for by this dude. Where's this dude? He's the one that's got to do. Oh, no, he gave me the money for this. I'm doing the background check. He paid for me as a gift. Doesn't fly anymore. Sorry.
All right. Well, gosh, thanks for this information.
Sure.
Incredibly fascinating.
Yeah.
I bet those are always strange calls to get.
There's some interesting phone calls on this side of the counter for sure. Absolutely wonderful.
All right. Well, hey, again, thank you, and we'll just keep chatting.
Heck yes. Until
right.
next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.